Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this problem, we'll analyze a linear function with two variables. So as per the problem, a student council invested some of the money from a fundraiser in a savings account that pays 3% per year and the rest of the money in a government bond that pays 4% per year. And the investments earned $150 in the first year. So in part A, we have to define two variables for the information and then write an equation. So let's start with part A. Now in part A, we have to define the two variables. Now the variables are for the unknowns in the problem. Now in this problem, we are given that some amount of money was invested in a savings account and another amount was invested in the bond. We'll have to write variables for the amounts that were invested in the savings account and the government bond. So our first variable can be for the amount invested in the savings account. Let X represent the amount invested in 3% savings account. So this is our first variable for this information. And then the second variable will be for the amount invested in the government bond. So let Y represent the amount invested in 4% government bond. So these are the two variables for this information. And now we have to write an equation. Now we are given that the total amount of interest earned from these two investments is $150. So we'll have to first calculate the interest we receive from these two investment options. For the savings account, the interest rate is 3%. So we'll have to convert that 3% into a decimal form, which is equal to 0.03. So we divide 3 by 100, which gives us 0.03. So we multiply x by 0.03 and that will give us the interest earned from the savings account. So 0.03x plus, now we have to write an expression for the interest earned from the government bond, and that will be 0.04y because y is the amount invested in the government bond, and the sum of these interests is equal to 150 because that's the total amount of money earned in the first year. So this is the equation for this situation. So now we can answer part B. Now in part B, we have to graph this equation. Now to graph a linear function, we need at least 2 points. So the easiest way to find the 2 points is to find the x and the y-intercepts for the linear equation. So let's start with the x-intercept. So for x-intercept, we sub in y as 0 in the equation and then solve for x. So we get 0.03x plus 0.04 times 0 equals 150. We have to solve for x. So 0.04 times 0 is equal to 0. So this goes away. So we are left with 0.03x equals 150. And now we can solve this equation by dividing both sides by 0.03. So we have to isolate x. So that's why we have to divide both sides by 0.03. So 0.03 on the left side cancel each other out and I got 5,000. So that's the x-intercept for this linear equation, and it can also be written as an ordered pair as 5,000, 0. Now we can find the y-intercept. So for y-intercept, we sub in x as 0. So in this equation, we get 0.03 times 0 plus 0.04y equals 150. Now 0.03 times 0 is equal to 0, so this term goes away. So we are left with 0.04y equals 150. We can isolate y by dividing both sides by 0.04. So 0.04 on the left side cancel each other out. So I got y equals $3,750. This can also be written as a y-intercept point as 0,37750. Now we can graph this information. So we'll draw the grid. Now for this graph, we only have to show the graph in the first quadrant because both the x and y values will always be positive numbers because they represent the amount of money invested. So you can never have a negative amount of money as an investment. So the x-intercept is 5,000. So you'll have to use an appropriate scale on the x-axis. So x-intercept will be shown as a point on the x-axis. So let's assume this is your $5,000. And you'll have to use an appropriate scale on the y-axis to show the y-intercept. So let's assume the y-intercept is here, $3,750. So the graph can be drawn by joining these 2 points by a straight line. So this is the graph of this equation. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.